Hello, students. I'm going to make a short video here talking about the APC portion of the exam. Just so you're aware, for the APC, which means you are in-person proctored for this portion of the exam, you can use a physical TI-84 calculator. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you can kind of see these components here. You can use a physical TI-84 calculator. You can use the TI-84 emulator that I've provided for you. That's the digital one on a website. You can use Desmos or GeoGebra, completely your choice. If you want digital, make sure you open your choice of a new tab before you start the test. So you will see this, and then you'll see a start test link at the bottom. When it is ready, you can right click, open in a new tab. Here's all your graphing calculators. Pick the one you want. Let's say, I don't know, maybe I want Desmos for this one. Fine. Open Desmos, close that other link. And now what I'll have is I'll have the test in one tab. I'll have Desmos in the other tab. As we go forward, there will be other components that may be able to be provided. Not every time will you have a formula sheet for this particular first exam. There is no formula sheet that I provide because everything there is something you should know or be able to derive quickly. Again, that's what the department has indicated is required for our course. So you're ready to go, have this loaded. Once everything is set, then click. You can kind of start the test. They'll be there with you. They'll have a code you have to type in when you're ready. So be aware, all students are required to follow the student conduct code, meaning you can use the technology listed above, but no other websites, no other notes, and no other materials. Any use of other materials is a violation of the student conduct code and will result in disciplinary actions. This test and other assessments are designed to have you show me what you know. What did you learn so far? I will provide opportunities to demonstrate you have learned this material, even if you may not be there in all areas yet. That's the growth mindset idea. I don't just say it, I actually do it. So note, I provide late options on everything in the course except exams. You can jump back to the syllabus if you do have any questions. Again, the syllabus is posted here. If you click on it, you can bring it down and read everything that is available there. You do have to book the appointment time with the APC. If you have not, even if you're outside of the area, you can still talk to them. They may have a proctor in the area where you are. I do want to point out some proctors, if you're not a student at that institution, maybe you're taking it, I've seen some people take it at a Cal State, they may charge you a particular proctoring fee. While the test doesn't tell you the length of time, the standard time is 2 hours. Those of you with accommodations may have a longer amount of time. That will be handled by either the APC or your proctor. Okay, that is not something that I can control. So if you have something, if you're not with the APC and you are outside of the area, that's something you'll have to talk with your proctor about and have them contact me. Okay, anything done outside of these directions will be scored as a 0. Again, occasionally people try to get around the system a little bit. Okay, it's a graded, yes, it's definitely graded. It goes towards test 1. It says no time limit, but that's to accommodate students who may have learning disabilities or need additional accommodations. So there we go. Let's jump into, I'm going to stop sharing now. So let's jump into the test itself. What I'm going to do then, obviously, I'm not going to show you the exact questions. I will talk through the questions as I go. And let's see here. So I'm going to give you well, a number of questions, shall we say. And let me see. Oh, there we go. It's loaded up for me now. So you will have a question asking about the standard initial position. I will ask you to use, you can type in your answer with PI for pi, that kind of stuff, and be sure to include degrees or radians when appropriate. So I might list a certain number of radians. Remember, if there is nothing listed at all, it is measuring radians. So if you say 30 and you don't put anything down next to it, you mean 30 radians. That's how I will interpret it. I will give you a particular angle, probably a couple of them, some in degrees, some in radians, that kind of thing. And I will have you pick a terminal side you need to give me a quadrant and a reference angle. Okay. Let's see here. I will also ask you to be able to convert from degrees to radians, forwards and backwards. Most of the time, I will ask you to keep your answers in exact form. Okay. Let's see here. I'll give you a chunk of numbers, trigonometric. So you saw this in the book. It said find all trigonometric values for a particular angle. I will do that, some in radians, some in degrees, and I will ask you to find the exact values for those. So these are, if it's exact values, you know it has to be something on that unit circle, right? That's the only thing we know to this point. And for that one, you will be kind of showing your work. So you do this on scratch paper, and then you'll submit the scratch paper to the APC and they will scan it, and I will grade that question later. So a number of questions will have kind of a box that says typed in. So you can choose, I guess I should say it this way, you could choose to type things into the box if you prefer, or you can do it kind of on scratch paper handwritten. If you are doing something where you are going to enter something on a box, let's see here. I think I should be able to demonstrate that with one of our other components. So let me go down to one of our discussion board posts, and I will share my screen on this. So if you, again, if you want to, you can. You do not have to, but if you wanted to, here's some of our discussions. So I'm just going to go to general Q&A. Let me see here. So when you click on a reply box in a discussion board post, it gives you all of these options. These are the same options that you'll see on a test. So if you wanted to type something in, you could. So click on the icon that looks like a little square root. Let me go back and do it again a little bit slower. I'll make sure I annotate here as well. So there were 3 little dots over here. If I click them, there's an option here that says equation, math equation. You can also go to the insert menu and choose equation from there. Once you click it, it does pop up a box. You can directly edit LaTeX if you know how to code in LaTeX. I'd say probably most of us don't. So what we do instead is we might say, okay, the question said sine of pi. Okay, sine of pi. Well, sine of pi is equal to, and then you have to decide what is sine of pi equal to. Let's just say that you thought sine of pi was equal to the square root of 3 over 2. Well, you can type in a slash for division, and it gives you a top and bottom. Type in SQRT of 3, put a 2 on the bottom, and then click done, and you've got something on the screen that looks like sine of pi equals square root of 3 over 2. And there you go. That's how you can type your answers in if you prefer that. If not, you'll leave this space blank on the test and then just write your hand. Just make sure it says very clearly, this is question 4 or this is question 6, and then put your parts A, B, C, D, that kind of thing. All right. So you have a couple choices there. Either one, doesn't matter to me. All right, let's jump back into the test itself. Let's see here, question 4. Ooh, so this is one where I give you information about a particular angle, but I don't tell you what the angle is. Okay, and I'm not going to ask you what the angle is. I'm asking you information about the trigonometric functions of that angle. So for example, you might remember these in the book. It would say sine of theta equals 1/2, and it's in quadrant 2. Something like that. Okay, so I will give you clues like that. Again, there's multiple problems because these are pulling from a test bank that I wrote. So your task is to find the quadrant if I don't give you the quadrant, and then to find all the remaining trigonometric functions. Okay, exact values. So once again, you could type them if you want, but you could also handwrite them. And handwriting here would probably be helpful to kind of show your work. If you want to do the other one, you can type it in and then kind of put the work that you did as typed as well. Then let's hear question 5 is kind of a 2-part question, if you will. The first part is information about a particular graph, a trigonometric graph. So this comes out of the 5556 area. So this is where you might have shifts and stretches and reflections, that kind of stuff. Okay. So I will ask you, this will be kind of drop downs, find whether it's right, left, up, down, all those. Okay. And then the question right afterwards is to go actually graph that equation. Okay, so make sure you label it on your scratch paper because you will be physically drawing it. Okay, and I tell you exactly what I want you to have. You need to have labeled axes. You need to have min and max points labeled with coordinates. This is not a surprise, really, if you're kind of thinking about how you would graph something typically. Make sure you have at least 2 periods drawn for whatever graph we have. Question 7 involves inverse trigonometric functions. So calculate using SQRT. So if you're typing something, SQRT for square root, put parentheses to say what the square root is of. If you're typing pi, you would use pi to kind of as you're writing it out. Let's see here. Then I've got a couple of word problems. Some that involve, all of them involve trigonometry, obviously, but some of them will give you pieces of information, might ask you to do something with either going forward with the trigonometric function, I give you something, or it goes backwards. So you're finding a side length or an angle for a trigonometric function. Definitely going to have one on linear speed or linear velocity, angular velocity. I noticed those came up quite a bit in the homework. You'll have a question that includes arc length and the area of a sector. If you watch my other video, you realize I don't have to memorize any of those formulas. Arc length is a part of a circumference. It's a part of the circle's circumference. That's it. And the same is true for the area of a circle. You do not have to memorize big formulas at all in this class. Let's see here. Then I will have you do some type of word problem. I think I mentioned it in the video back in, I think it was even 5.1, the idea of kind of walking towards and away from something. I love those. So it could be something like an airplane. You sight up, you get an angle up to something, and then it keeps flying, and so you get a second angle kind of thing. Or maybe what was it, like a lighthouse? So you're like on level ground, you see a lighthouse, then you walk closer, you get the angle again, so now you have 2 angles, and you really have to kind of do a little bit of work algebraically to come up with the solution there. So I'm going to ask you certain components to a problem like this, and you will kind of type your answer into one of those questions, and then for the second one you will go down and you'll actually show your work. So you actually have to put your work down. I would prefer that this is probably written out, depending on where you are at the proctoring center. That's probably the best. Technically, you could write it all in that little box by typing it, but your equations are going to be pretty challenging to do well with that. So I'd probably say just write it out on paper, submit it to the proctoring center, and they'll scan it for me. Question 13 is a technology question. So I'm going to ask you to use your technology to come up with the answers to specific problems. There we go. Let's see here. What else? Solving a triangle. So I'll give you some distances maybe. You give me, or I'll give you some distances and angles of perhaps a right triangle, and you come up with, using your trigonometric functions, what are the remaining components. So it's called solving a triangle. Let's see here. What else do we have? Oh, find the exact value for some inverse functions. And the last question is a graph. You are going to be asked to redo a graph, write a graph out. I give you the actual physical graph. You have to give me the function notation for it. So there you go. That's kind of the test. Covers everything we've done through so far. I think it's pretty reasonable. You've got to know those basic values though. If you are saying, hey, I'm still struggling with the unit circle, poof, nope. Make those very quickly. You really only need to be concerned with quadrant 1. Everything else is just a sign, positive or negative, depending on which quadrant you're in. So quadrant 1 is really the key. And if you watch my video with the 43210 or the other videos that students have linked in discussions where they call it a 321. It's a 321 because they already ignored the other 2 points, but whatever. It's the same thing. So find something that works for you and then work till you feel like you comfortably understand and can very quickly come up with the values for the trigonometric functions in quadrant 1. If you can do that, then the rest of the quadrants, all you do is find that reference angle and you're good. That's really all I've got for you today. Hopefully this test goes really well. I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of excited to see the results, and hopefully everything goes well for you. Don't forget to book those appointments, APC and Zoom. Otherwise, we're good to go. All right, off you go.